This is Round from 1349, and you're watching Heavy New York.
What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the St. Vitus basement, and we are here with 1349. Thank you guys for your time today.
Thank you.
It's so awesome to have you here. Your newest record is the Infernal Pathway. What I'm curious is, being that it was 5 years since the release of Cauldron of Chaos, the record before that, was this just a continuation of that, or do you think that this record is kind of like a new beginning or a standout in your catalog?
Well, the thing with 1349 is that whenever we do an album, it has to be better than what we've done before. I mean, we won't. That's also maybe why it takes time, is because it has to top what we've done before. Otherwise, there's no need or no meaning to doing another album. It has to be better. We have to progress to move on.
What I'm curious is, being that you always want to progress with your sound, is there like a preconceived idea on how you want the next 1349 record to sound? Do you like have a preconceived idea going into it, or is there a lot of improvising involved?
It used to be that way. Like the three first album, we pretty much had an idea what they were going to be and what we wanted to accomplish. But now it's just after the fourth album, it was pretty much up to every album what would happen basically, and that's how we roam now. We make every album like it's the last one, and then we see if we're ever going to make a new album again. That's basically how it works now. So
Do you try to like experiment a little bit more with your sound, or do you try to kind of like, I feel like people could like any 1349 fan, whether they're discovering you on this new record or Cauldron of Chaos or even the first record, could really appreciate your sound? Is there like a formula that you stick with, or?
Well, I always say that it's a misconception among people that black metal has to have a bad sound. That it has to have the right sound, and if that means that the guitars sound a bit harsh and bad and maybe not mainstream, that so be it. But you have to find that sound that really benefits the material that you make. And making black metal, it's supposed to be a bit unpleasant for the ear as well. So it's about the right sound, and finding that right sound is varies from every album to album, and even down to every song. So sometimes we do different mixes for the different songs on the album. It's not like a standard setup. It has to sound right for that song.
Yeah. And you mentioned like the mixing, because our mutual friend Jared Pritchard, who plays with Pulchra Morte, and I feel like he's a really talented musician in himself. Does working with him allow other elements like that 1349 may not have had previously?
Well, the thing about Jarrett, which is he's an amazing engineer, but he's also a good friend of ours, and he's a great guitarist. So it's something about the guy that can, when you're in the studio, take your instrument and say, "Come on, man, do it properly," and then play whatever you were playing and run up. Oh yeah, gotta step it up. But just on a side note to the previous question, because black metal is also primarily a feeling, and 1349 is very much a feeling, even though all the albums might sound different, but there is a certain 1349 spirit, the band spirit, so to speak, that's always there and always constant, and that's kind of what we try to get pushed through with every album, that the spirit is there.
Well, I feel like black metal is like, it's really not even just about the music, but it is like almost a lifestyle, or there's a great essence of imagery around it and meaning. For the band, does like a lyrical concept or subject matter maybe also help determine the outcome of the music, or could the music that 1349 writes about also be open to interpretation?
Yeah, of course, it's up to every individual to get what they want out of the music and the lyrics. We of course get visions in our head when we see when you listen to the music and read the lyrics, and hopefully the listener will get a similar experience and maybe experience the same thing. So it's like the two will make the third, basically. That's always been the main concept behind everything. It's not a formula. I mean, every human being should make up their own mind. We're not a band that like to force feed anything onto or an opinion onto somebody. You know, it's like we do what we do, and then you can pay attention to it or don't.
Could somebody else's perception on how they may interpret your music, like even if it's like nothing what you were feeling or trying to say when writing the music, could their perception maybe change the outlook you have on your music?
Yeah, of course, and that's what's why you tour. You know, you meet the fans and you get their input on how your music and your art has inflicted them, and I mean that's the main reason for touring. Basically, that's you meet your fans firsthand, and then take it from there on. You bring that back into the studio with you, and then hopefully you will evolve even more. You know.
Yeah. When it comes to playing live, this is going to be my first time seeing 1349 tonight. I sadly missed you. I think the last time you came here is when you were touring with Origin back in, I think it was like 2014, I think. Oh, wow. Yeah. But when it comes to playing your music live, is there a completely different energy that you channel into your live presence as you do when you're in the studio or in songwriting mode? Or is there maybe like a similar sort of thing that ties everything together?
Well, of course, live there's the channeling of this spirit, this energy, this feeling of black metal has to be channeled, both in the studio but also live. So of course live we prepare, we put on the paint, we get ready, and we get in, for lack of a better word, war mode, where we're ready to go out there and do this extreme thing in front of people, because you expend a lot of energy, and if you're lucky you have a good crowd, so you get the energy back and you can feed on that and push it. And it's always this weird sort of alchemy that you have 4 dudes on the stage, and then you add this energy and you get something beyond these 4 people, right? Because music has the luxury of speaking directly to the feelings without necessarily having to go through the brain. You can express primal shit without really speaking.
What I find unique is like when you are expressing this darkness on stage, is there like a fulfillment factor that like, do you walk off stage feeling completely different than when you were preparing to go on stage in a way?
No, it's for me personally, it's pretty much the same. But when you walk on stage, and what happens basically. Then you're in concert, as we said, war mode. So you do the show, and then when you're done, then you switch back off basically. So you go into for me it's more of just primal emotions. There's like I don't remember any lyrics while walking on the stage. The lyrics comes automatically upon the music. So if I start to think while I'm on stage, then I will start to fuck up lyrics and stuff, because I was like, oh, what's the next lyrics? Well, I don't. They're not there. So I stopped doing that many years ago. So there's no thinking. It's just being basically and performing. And when you come off, then obviously it's a huge physical effort, and but it's just you're just worn out basically. You give everything that you should be that way. It's just like a sports sports event basically. So you give everything you got, and then you should be completely worn out afterward, and there's should be only the endorphins left basically. So it's.
Do you go into a similar war mode though when you enter the studio, or when like you're in a vocal booth or you're practicing at all?
Yeah, you have to. In order to get that same feeling into the lyrics, you have to switch and tap into those same primal emotions. What's hard often is that you have to. You don't have the lyrics in your backbone, so you need to read through at sometimes, but I mean, you have the luxury in the studio to retake, and then that's the way you work through it. But this is also an advantage with bringing Jared Pritchard into the whole process, because he knows us from the live situations. He knows what energy lies in you, and doing especially like the vocal performance on an Infernal Pathway, he knew exactly what he can get out of me. So when he said, "Oh, do it one more time, or do another take, and or try this, try that," it's just a very good help, to have him have that live knowledge and bring that into the studio as well. So then the two unite each other basically.
Yeah, because to have somebody who's very active and plays a very prevalent role in your live presence, he knows exactly how you're supposed to sound live and clearly knows what you're supposed to sound like on the album too. It feels like working with somebody very close.
Yeah, and you can just relax and focus on the job you're going to do, because you know that the guy that sits behind the console, he knows exactly what he wants out of you, and then you just work hard on getting that done until when he says when it's okay, then it's good. He knows that it's the best you can give.
Of course. Oh, I have 2 more questions for you. One thing I find, what I've always was curious about, especially with your style, is we kind of really just went on it talking about war mode and getting inspired and all this. Does inspiration sometimes just hit you out of nowhere when it comes to songwriting mode, or do you sometimes have to put yourself in a certain element, or find it do you have to look for inspiration?
Well, both actually. I mean, I'm blessed or cursed, if you want, with waking up in the middle of the night. Now, okay, guitar, pen, paper, whatever. But I'm also every day I sit down with an instrument or with pen and paper, and I do until something comes. Because if you just rely on the kind of flashes of inspiration, then nothing might happen for very extended periods of time, and then so you have to force it, and then you can learn it. You can learn inspiration because you can get into the zone. I mean, I used to watch Twin Peaks, the last episode of season 2, where everything goes batshit insane, and after 10 minutes of that I just had to stop everything and run and get my guitar, because then I was inspired, then I was in the zone. So inspiration hits, but you can also force it to hit, but it's a long process.
Yeah, I feel like forcing inspiration is always hard, because it doesn't come naturally. I think people can tell when something's forced in a way.
But it's also a learning process. You have to when it says forcing, it's actually you have to learn how to trick your mind into getting into that inspirational mode. So it's not exactly forcing, it's more tricking. That is the key word here. And so you can trick yourself into becoming inspired, because if you know what your the common denominators are, that when you get inspired, you can tap into those same feelings and find those same elements, and then automatically trigger that inspiration to a certain degree. But of course, it is hard, and it takes years of experience to do that.
Yeah, I heard in an interview with I believe it was Alexi Leho from Children of Bodom. He said he would sometimes look for trouble, if he's trying to come up with lyrics or songs. He would just go out and do some crazy stupid shit or whatever, just to come up with an idea. So it's inspiration could come from anywhere. Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you is, this is my favorite question to ask everybody, because it's always the hardest question for everybody to answer. How do you know when a song is done?
Well, that's when the tape ends.
Yeah, basically when you run out of tape. I mean, a song is done when you kind of realize that you have to let it go, otherwise you'll be flicking on it for the next 15 years. I mean, you never want to let it go, but at some point you realize you have to let it go, because studio time is up, you're supposed to deliver the masters, and you just have to finish.
That's a very good explanation. Some people feel like they need to be so deep into it, it's never finished, it's only abandoned, and all
Well,
that.
I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere, otherwise the studio budgets that they had in the 70s and 80s are no longer available. So you can spend like 9 months in a studio in order to and make the whole album there,
Yeah.
like has been done. But I mean,
Yeah. Exactly.
I'd like to, at least we don't have that luxury. So
Yeah. You like to capture a moment. I feel like your music also captures a moment too. So.
yeah, it's more like it's that you have to, that primal energy that's there, and it's also it's not a product that's fine shapen in any way. You know, it's a rough edged and hard material. So it's not something that need to be polished and worked upon. It should be a bit rough edged. You know, it should be a bit. Doesn't matter if it's only adds to it if it's a bit rougher than polished. Basically, it's like
There you go. There you go. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It's going to be a kick-ass show tonight. Perfect way to celebrate the week of Halloween. Is there just anything else you would like to promote with 1349? This will be uploaded by midnight, so if it hasn't been announced yet, don't say it here.
no. I mean, it's we're on tour now. So if you like the album and want to come out, this is a sold out show. So there's no use to go to this one. But there's still a couple of tickets left in other cities. So pick up the album as well. We have a special artist edition that we only sell. It's the band that sells it. It's not distributed by the label or anything as well. So it only exists in 300 copies, and we sell that on the road as well. So it's
Oh, that's good to know. Got to pick that up. Well, thank you guys so much. Everybody, we are here with 1349. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.